Welcome back to T0 webinars. It's great to have you back. We're having a great week of webinars going on. Yesterday we had an amazing individual, Marco. Today we have another amazing individual, Mike Ergo. Mike Ergo was a Marine. He started up the Gold Star Initiative. Just an amazing individual who has raced in Kona, who also has an amazing story to tell us today. Mike is going to be getting on here in 1 second, but it's been a journey that I've been able to take with Mike because I got the opportunity in September to actually go and do a Gold Star Initiative event that was in California, the Ironman 70.3 Super Frog. And it was an amazing experience, not only for myself, but for the family, to be able to be a part of something bigger than yourself. And I think that's really what it's all about. And it's really something that he embodies in everything that he does. And we will have him on here in about a minute. And you can ask questions as we're going here online within the chat box on the side. If you have any questions for myself or for Mike, please don't hesitate to ask as we go through here. And there is the man, the myth, the legend, Mike Ergo. Click on your camera and your audio.
And we're back.
There he is. There he is.
What's up, brother?
It's such a pleasure to have you on. I was just boasting all about you. You got to not hear it. And that was the best part.
Yeah, exactly.
I was just talking about the great things that you've been a part of, and it was amazing for me to be able to be a part of that at the Ironman 70.3 Super Frog. But actually, I want to go back to you and how is everything going with the challenges that are going on right now?
Well, I'm taking a step back from the pool, that's for sure, and rethinking a lot of the different things I do in daily life because it's come to a grinding halt. But I've taken this time to spend with my kids. Like right now, we got our slip and slide set up out back. I set up our tent. We're going to go camping in our backyard. So nice. I'm just retooling things, like retooling everything in my life and trying to decide like what I want to keep and what I want to modify or change. So spend a little time of introspection for me.
That's a great perspective. It's a lot of people have said it's the opportunity, and you're really taking that opportunity to heart. What is you're training for something in October, hopefully, right?
Yes.
Ironman World Championships. One of the things that you can do, can you give us that site in order to donate? It's all the money is going to go towards the Gold Star Initiative, which we'll have you talk about in a minute, but give them that site that they can go and donate on.
Yeah, it's bit.ly, so bit.ly/ Mike to Kona, and it's the number 2, and I can put it in the chat there too.
Okay,
but
perfect.
It's and I'm raising $30,000, and all of that is going directly to the Gold Star Initiative, which we'll talk about in a bit. So it's going to be an exciting thing. I'm going to be racing in Kona and carrying the flag for a dear friend in honor of her son.
Tell us more about Lisa, your dear friend.
My dear friend Lisa. So Lisa and I actually met where we met, Rob, at Super Frog. And she is a Gold Star mom, which means that she had a son who was served in the Marine Corps, served in the military, and was killed while serving in the military. And he was killed in Iraq, actually, while I was in Iraq. I didn't know him. His name was Nick Anderson. And so they call families who have lost someone Gold Star families. And I was down at Super Frog, and I was there to watch and help out. And I saw this woman, and she was wearing one of these bracelets, and you know what I'm talking about, the memorial bracelets, and it has a name, date, someone's killed. And I saw her wearing that, and I just asked her, "Is that bracelet your son?" And she said, "Yeah, it is." And then we started talking, and I told her I was preparing to go to Kona that year and race in honor of my fallen friends who I carry on my jersey. And we started talking, and I said, look, I don't know exactly what we're going to do together, but we're going to do something really big together. I don't know what it is, but it's going to be awesome. And we have been good friends ever since then. And so we co-founded what's called the Gold Star Initiative, which is bringing veterans and Gold Star families together with the community at Ironman races. We have a veteran carrying a flag in honor of the fallen, and just to let people know that we haven't forgotten them, and to include them back in public life, and let people know that their sacrifices are appreciated. And it's a healing event, not just for the families, but for the vets too. I mean, as you know, a lot of us come back with survivor's guilt, and I struggled for years to reconnect with the Gold Star families from my own unit. Just it crushed me because the guilt I carried around, which I found out was totally not needed. It was totally not mine to have in the first place. But anyways, doing this has been just a healing work for myself. And I had this epiphany that my idea of service before was something you do that helps other people, but it's miserable because
Right.
I'm a Marine, so it has to be miserable, right?
Right.
So instead of, I had this epiphany where I realized, what if I did something I liked and it helped other people, and these two things came together? Boom! It's like
That's called the
chocolate and
Air
peanut butter.
Force.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, for us, lower score NASVAB.
Yeah.
People.
Yeah. So, I want to get back to the Gold Star Initiative because the power that carries, not just in the mindset. Now, Super Frog is not an easy course whatsoever,
Yeah.
thanks to all the sand that the Navy SEALs thought was fun to put on the course. But even all those races, like the weight of the flag is probably the heaviest thing that I carried, even though I'm carrying 50 pounds of gear, which you got to feel the weight of. But the weight of the flag is very heavy because it's, like you said before, you're making sure that these people understand that they're not forgotten, that they won't ever be forgotten. And that is how many other Gold Star, I guess, racers have you had since this program's inaugural?
I believe we've had 8 in total.
Okay.
And so I've carried the flag for almost half of those, and it has been, yeah, it's a tremendous honor, and it's a tremendous responsibility because,
Right.
like you said, you're carrying a symbolic. You carrying the symbol of someone's memory right there, and we got the streamer with their name on it, and so it's something that is really fun, but it can be really heavy too, because, man, you just realize that there's a family who doesn't have that person in their life anymore. And
Right.
one thing that really cemented in just how important it is to do this was a woman named Norma Villazone, and I carried the flag in Santa Rosa for her son Caesar. And she told me before the race, she said, my greatest fear is that one day I'll have to stop talking about him because people won't want to hear about him. And just that floored me. Yeah, and I said, you'll never have to worry about that. Not around me, not around the Ironman community, not around, because we're going to tell people about him. And that's what's fun along the route of the race, when I get to meet the families and learn about these men and women who have passed away in military service, I can tell people on the course about them. I can say, this is what, Mick Bukowski was like. This is what Cesar Villazone was like. And here's what he did in this life, and this is when he died, and here's who he leaves behind, and just tell people about him. And that means so much to the family, which is really cool.
Right. It's a story that carries on. I think that is built and ingrained within that Gold Star Initiative. You have a flag that you're going to be carrying in Kona right next to you, don't you?
I sure do, man. I keep it in here because I practice and run with it. But this is
around your house.
Yeah, yeah. I've been carrying it around town, and just make sure I still got it. But this is for Lance Corporal Nick Anderson, and his mother Lisa is like we talked about, the co-founder of this Gold Star Initiative. So, I said, what more could we ask for than carrying this at Kona at the World Championship on the big stage, to celebrate her family, her son's life, her son's service to this country. So it's interesting that even though this is a heavy thing, I sincerely believe that it makes the race easier for me
Yeah.
because I'm someone who I need purpose. I need a reason to get out of bed. I need a reason to do something. And so when I get tired, when I slow down, when I want to quit, when my legs or my knees are just killing me,
Right.
I know that that's okay. That pain can be there because I have a higher purpose right now. And I have a higher purpose, and it helps me break down, I get these layers of numbness, anger, sadness, grief, guilt. Um, and then below all that is this joy, this wellspring of joy and connection and purpose. And carrying the flag helps me tap into that. And for me, that is my superpower. I'm not setting any records, I'm not on the podium too often. But that's when I tap into that, like I'm not gonna stop. I
Right.
could break a leg and I'm not gonna stop. I know that. I can say that confidently because I have that purpose. I've tapped into it.
The power of why is an amazing thing, especially in endurance sports, because you're not really meant to go that far. Your body's not meant to
Yeah.
do the things that we have done in those
Yeah.
sports. But I want to go back to your original why. You did Kona, and tell us your why, because that was a real pivotal point in you understanding the power of endurance sports and the power of triathlon, not only in your battle and your mind, but in your body. Tell us more
Yeah.
about the background of why did you do Kona?
Yeah. Well, it started in Kona, and I was there on vacation in 2014 with my family, and it just happened to be the same week as the World Championship, and I was like, oh, I've heard of this Ironman thing before. What is it? And I was struggling to find purpose, and I was struggling to find anything to do in life, my next step, really. And I saw these athletes running, and I saw them out on the bike course, and I started looking it up on my phone and watched the race, and I'm like, I don't know what it is, but I need to do one of these. I had this intense fear, but I knew at that point I was along in my healing where I knew that that kind of fear was something I needed to lean into because it was equal parts excitement than it was, dread or fear. So I signed up, and shortly after, I saw a video of a woman who was honoring her husband who had been killed in action, and she'd run in his honor and wear his name on her shirt. And she started an organization called Wear Blue, Run to Remember.
Mhm.
And that was when I watched that video of her racing Kona, I had this just these tears of relief, like, oh, so I can grieve these people that I've lost and that I miss still, and I can do something positive. Because up until that point, it was, drinking myself silly at a bar,
Right.
just feeling alone and dejected and separate. And I said, oh, I can feel the feelings that I need to feel and connect to these guys that I lost and do something I really want to do. So I started racing, and I put all the names, I put 29 names of guys who were in my unit that I served with who were killed in action.
Mm.
And I race in their memory and their honor. And I tell their families, like, hey, these guys are not forgotten. They're not gone. I'm carrying them on my jersey. I'm carrying them in my heart. And it felt so good. It felt so good because
Yeah,
it turned something that was just a bummer and really sad into purpose, into connection. So I loved it.
that's huge. It's huge. And, the Ironman Foundation helped you out a lot. And I want you to speak more on how the Ironman Foundation has really helped you to facilitate this Gold Star initiative, as well as other programs that you've been a part of.
Yeah. Well, um, I didn't start carrying the flag until 2018. And, after being part of Kona, they said, I want you to, Sarah Hartman and the Ironman Foundation wanted me to be the race ambassador for Ironman Santa Rosa, my hometown here. And they said, what do you want to do that will, kind of put your mark on this race, give it your own flavor? And I said, I'm gonna, because I was racing it, and I said, I'm gonna carry a flag for the marathon in honor of a fallen hero. And I just heard the silence, and I heard, are you sure you can do that? I'm like, yes, like 100%. Like I knew it was scary as hell.
Yes.
Scary as hell to like say like, I've run for like 8 miles with a flag before, but you know.
It's only a little farther.
Exactly. I can't do math very well, so it's just a couple more miles. But
Oh
I
yeah.
like here's what I knew is that I knew in Kona, like in 2017, there's so many moments where I wanted to quit.
Yes.
So and my it was that race for me was the hardest thing I'd done since being in combat. And so yeah, but I knew I was like, when I have the purpose, I'm not going to quit.
Right.
And so I said, yes, 100% I'm going to do it. And so I found a local family who had lost their son, Josh Kynock, and I ran, carried the flag, and presented to Josh's mother and Josh's daughter. And I realized like I knew it would be something that I really enjoyed and that the family would enjoy, and it
Right.
would bring great meaning and purpose. But I had no idea how big of an impact that would have on the community. And people are saying, "What are you carrying the flag for?" That like what is this? This is really cool. What's going on here? It was contagious,
Yeah.
and so I was able to tell them about Joshua Kynock and his life on this earth, and Sarah Hartman, the head of the Ironman Foundation, took me up on my challenge to say, why don't we bring this a step higher and allow other people, other vets, and other Gold Star families to be a part of it? And she said, yeah, let's start an initiative and call it the Gold Star Initiative. And so we've opened it up and select races for other vets and other Gold Star families to be a part of it. Which is how we met, which was awesome.
Yep.
Yeah.
And you can go on Ironman Foundation and find out more about the Gold Star Initiative, as well as the other great programs that they have there. The amazing thing, and I've felt this, and I know you have, with doing these races, these Ironmans, the power that it brings not only to your life, but like you said, through the actions, because there's a lot of action in 16 hours, like I take usually for an Ironman, less for you. But the actions impact lives. Even if those other people don't do Ironmans, they can see the power of that why. So now you're going to be doing Kona this year in October, and you remember the pain, right?
Oh, yes. Yes.
But if you could break down for some of these age groupers, maybe they're doing their first race, or even some of these pros that are listening, what would be two of the biggest things to forge your mindset to be able to get through those lava fields?
No, one is stop resisting pain. There are two kinds of suffering. One, and this is deep level Buddhism stuff, but there is the pain of being born, of getting sick and injured, and the pain of dying. That we all go through that. And there is the suffering that comes from wishing it wasn't so. And I spent so much time, and I do it almost every race. It's just it's natural to do this as a human. But when we can kind of transcend that by saying like, okay, I'll make a little space for this pain. I'll make a little space for this discomfort, because I know the purpose is greater than this temporary pain right here. So I'd say one would be to stop resisting pain, just allow it to be there, and you won't suffer as much.
I like that.
Yeah. And then the second thing would be ground yourself in that why, and do that ahead of time. Like, find out why you're doing it. Like what is the reason you were doing this? What is that deep reason? Not just to finish, but there's always a deeper reason, and really connect to that. I used to do that with daily affirmations. I did that. I was really impacted by a book that Mark Allen wrote called Fit Soul, Fit Body. And in that, he talked about these spiritual rituals he'd go through to cleanse himself of negativity. He talked about what he did before he won Kona that first time, and went on to do that many times. And he visited an ancient Hawaiian temple that was on the side of the road there in Kona, just south of Kailua Kona. And he sat there for a little while, and he brought something from his own life back on the mainland, and offered it to the spirits of the island, and just as a way of asking for safe passage, and just as a way of really grounding himself in his why. And I did the same thing beforehand. And do I know if there's spirits of the island? I don't. But what I do know is that all these rituals bring a greater sense of connection and purpose to my why.
Right.
And I know that by doing that, I put myself in the right mindset to allow discomfort into my life, into my body, and not have to resist it.
That makes sense. I love that because
Yeah.
that's the biggest thing is that why. Now, tell me, what would be one of your favorite triathlon stories? Because we all have those stories of crazy moments that happen on triathlons because everybody sees the finish, everybody sees the start. They don't see the work that is put in between and the craziness that goes on in between. So, what is one of your greatest triathlon stories that you have?
Well, I think one of them it involves going to the pool, and it's something that it was a huge barrier for me because I didn't grow up swimming. Like I'm a Marine, I'm never gonna drown, but I'm not gonna go. Like I was never very proficient in going fast. So I showed up at this pool and I was like, okay, so this is a group called the Masters Swim Team. That sounds intimidating as hell. And I'm walking through the parking lot and I see not one but two license plates that say U.S. Olympics. And I'm thinking, I'm here to basically learn how to swim. And these are the people I'll be swimming with. I was like, okay, maybe there's so many moments like within that, 100-meter walk to the front door from my car that I could have
Yep.
just turned around in so many reasons. And I remember I get to the pool and it could have been this time or it could have been the next time. There's like the Walnut Creek Masters team that I was swimming with. And shout out to my coach, Carrie O'Brien, who was just phenomenal in helping me learn how to swim. I walked because there's like 15 lanes packed with like 5 swimmers apiece. And yeah. So I walked to one side of it and I asked the guy, is this the fast side or the slow side? And he looks at me, he goes, this is the fast side. I was like, okay. So I walked to the very opposite end.
Oh, I love it. I love it. So that had to be a little intimidating going into Kona. There's some waves there
Yeah.
that go in and out of that bay. How was that swim compared to anything you'd ever done before?
It was calm. I mean, I'm so comfortable in the water. I mean, I'm used to spearfishing and free diving in the coast here in Northern California. The seas get rough. And
Yeah.
so I've been sucked out by a couple of riptides, enough to have the fear of God put in me about the ocean and learn to respect it. The swim was actually good, it was nice to see because the days before, like one day it would be calm, pancake water and pancake flat, and then the next day with this a lot of surge, and the day we were swimming was great, fine. Yeah, I was pleasantly surprised by how nice it was, and obviously beautiful. You're looking down and just you're snorkeling essentially, like looking at fish, turtles,
It is
divers.
distracting.
Oh man, that was awesome.
You let all the people that are going to go way in front of you go, and then you
Yeah.
just stay and watch the rest of it takes a little
Yeah,
longer, but it's
exactly.
okay.
Yeah, I was able to find someone who's slightly faster than me and stay on their toes and draft, and I since have never been able to draft that well, but it was perfect for Kona.
And I like it. Now I want to get into kind of because mentality or mindset right now is actually probably one of the most critical things for a lot of endurance athletes who are getting, they're training in, but they're not sure if they're going to be able to race. And so looking at that from a perspective of, well, you and I both suffer from PTSD, and, being able to function daily is probably one of the biggest things, and being able to push beyond those challenges. What are some of those things that you do for yourself daily that people can take away and maybe give to themselves because of their challenges?
I try to set myself up the best I can to sleep well, and it doesn't always happen, but I invest a lot in my sleep. I wear nasal strips. I do breathing before I go to bed. I wear an eye mask. I have a little contraption called a chili pad that cools my side of the bed down. And when I wake up, first thing I do is to really get my mind focused is I jump in a cold shower for 2 minutes, as cold as it will go, and that'll wake me up. And it has the same effect that I remember when I first started swimming. I learned how to really swim in open water before I came to the pool to refine my technique.
It's kind of
I remember,
opposite.
oh, exactly, yeah. So I jump in the water at the San Francisco Bay. It's usually in the 50s. Sometimes it'll warm up into the low 60s. But, you know, if you're depressed, that will literally shock the depression out of you. And so what this does for me too is it sends my body into a heightened state, but I know that it makes sense because of like my body's activated because this water is cold. So there's a reason. And then one of the confusing things about PTSD that a lot of people might not know is that it is essentially your mind and your body giving you two different signals. You know, your mind is looking around and saying like, okay, like I'm here in the United States, everything's relatively peaceful, but your body is giving you signals like we're about to die, we're about to die, we're about to die. And
Right.
then your mind starts thinking, oh, maybe I should be scared. Something bad is about to happen, and starts scanning for threats. So this is my little way of fixing that short circuit by finding something that's, slightly uncomfortable and saying, this is why I'm feeling that. Another thing I do is allow myself to just notice the feelings and not resist them as much and say, a lot of this is just leftover war stuff. It doesn't fit the situation. It's leftover war stuff. And I had no idea how much of that I was carrying around until I was training up for this 24-hour endurance event. And it was going to be, I was going to get tired. It was based on, the Army Special Forces selection. So I knew there'd be a lot of calisthenics and carrying heavy stuff and a lot of yelling, but I like my body I was having panic attacks. And my friends who are civilians were just like, we're going to get tired. What's the big deal? Like, why are you stressing about this? And I figured out, I just had this epiphany one day while I was meditating. Oh, that's leftover war stuff. And so that gives me enough distance each day when I can bring up that thought.
Right. It's being okay with not being okay all the time. It's that imperfection that we're okay with.
Yeah.
Now, what is one of your favorite races that you've ever done on the Ironman circuit? Besides for Kona, let's put it there. Besides Kona,
I think Ironman Santa Rosa has my heart because it's a place where I spent a lot of time with my grandparents, throughout my life, and it's where I live now, and it's where the Gold Star Initiative started. There's something about that those deep roots that I have here, and being able to race in honor of local, fallen heroes, and just the community I have met are like surrounded me. Like I'm so fortunate to have this humongous support crew. It's like,
right.
It's like I'm out there on the course and it looks like me and a flag, but I have 4 people who do body work on me and who donate their time. I have multiple friends and family members who are watching my kids and cheering me on. I have, Sarah Hartman and the other Ironman Foundation staff there to pass on the flag. I have Lisa there with me. So that there's something cool, special about having that hometown race.
That's pretty cool. There's a lot of power behind that. Like you said before, your why is huge. And I think that's one thing that people can take into solace right now in this challenging times is, find your why. Why is it key? It can't be just racing that's driving you forward. It has to be something that's bigger than that. So again, Mike Ergo, you are such an inspiration. You are a leader, not only with your Gold Star Initiative, but also an inspiration because a lot of people draw from what you're doing. Again, Mike will, if you want to go and find out more about Mike Ergo, you can go on all of his social media handles. What are those, Mike? On Facebook and all that?
On Instagram is probably the main one, transitions from war, underscores in between the words. And then Facebook is my name, Mike Ergo. And I've transitions from war on Facebook too. So find me on there.
And, donating to the Gold Star Initiative is a huge thing. And to be able to watch you cross the finish line with Lisa's son's name on that flag is going to be an amazing feat because I know that you'll do it. One last thing that you want to send out to everybody that's listening to say, you know what? it's worth it. You can focus on something. What would be those last parting words that you have?
Take this time and find out what your heart really desires, and then follow that thing. And it'll probably involve feeling some fear, because I think what we deeply desire involves going through doorways of fear. And for me, the Ironman was one of those big steps. Really having an honest and clear relationship with my spouse was another one. And I had to take a lot of steps through fear to do that. So notice what it is you deeply desire. This is the perfect time for that. Allow yourself to go through that fear, and knowing that fear is not just about bad things, but that fear is equal parts excitement, if not more excitement, about what your heart truly desires. And then just go after it and feel it.
I want to get Sarah Hartman gave you a shout out on here for all the things that you're doing. So it does a lot of impact that you've had in this sport, and a lot of impact will, many, many years to come. And just to kind of give you an idea too, is that this mental expert, I should say, because it's more of a life experience as well as he is a counselor, will be on T0's site to actually help individuals to be able to perform at their highest level. So just kind of a little tidbit for Mike Ergo. But Mike, again, thank you so much for being on here. I appreciate it. I appreciate everything you're doing, and I hope people go on there and donate, because it's a great cause.
Thanks, Rob. Good to talk to you, brother.
Great to talk to you too. If you want to find out who's coming on next, Sarah Hartman will be on another day. You got to go to iwishIwasracing.com and find out more. We're going to have some great guests, and we can't wait to have you on. Have a good one, and we'll see you next time.